What was the first step in you opening up the restaurant?
So as in the process.
Yeah.
So obviously I was doing events. I then needed to make sure I could get the capital, first of all. So the first thing is making sure I've got the capital. Then I done a feasibility test, meaning that I then looked at buildings that were for sale, calculated what the outgoings are going to be, and then said to myself, how much money does this business need to make for that business to make sense? Okay. So I will break it down in a smaller version by saying, if somebody wants you to take their venue on to do an event, and they tell you that it's a £2,000 bar spend, but the venue can only hold 50 people. That means each person has to spend £40. So you got to say to yourself, is the average person going to spend £40 on drinks? No. Maybe not. So it's not feasible to do that event there. So that's just breaking it down in a smaller term. So the business I'm opening soon is called WBF, which is called Working Back to Front, a consultancy page. I always say in business, work back to front. I think you were saying it before. I think someone said it just today about starting from that way and coming backwards. When you play it back, I don't know who it was. Someone said it. So, yes, about the iPhone. The iPhone. Yes, it was you that said it. The iPhone 18 has been made, and they scale it down. So it's always important to. I say work back to front. Go to the front. Work backwards, and see whether it can make sense. So the same way they want a £2,000 bar spend, only 50 people. So to hit £2,000, 50 people spending £40. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I do a feasibility test on everything. So once I've done that feasibility test, then it says to me, this can work. Then once I've done that, and you need to now find the premises. You go onto a commercial agent website, you start looking for locations, you got to then check. Sometimes you may be a freehold, it might be a leasehold. So a freehold is basically, I'll give an example. When you've got a block of flats, okay, there's a landlord who owns the whole block of flats. He would then send you the lease to the flat. So you own your flat, but you don't own the block. Does that make sense? So when buying a commercial premises, you can get the freehold or you can get the leasehold, which means you own this particular space for this amount of time. So it goes on land registry. So this is yours.
Okay.
Amount of time. So you might go and find a leasehold. So what you need to do is when you're checking for your lease, you need to then check for the business rates. Because I got stung. I didn't know what business rates was when I first opened Birmingham. So you got business rates is basically the tax you pay for just having a shop. It doesn't give you anything. It's just a tax. So for Birmingham, I was paying £600 a month just because
their business.
I've got a business. Whether I make £1 or £2, they were taking it. So you then do that. So you then do you check, find the commercial premises, find out how much the lease is or how much the freehold is, check for your business rates. And then once you've done that, you can then start breaking down whether or not it makes financial sense. That makes sense. So I always say that when it comes to hospitality, whatever your rent is a week, can you make that a day? So whatever your rent is a week. So if your rent is £500 a week, can you make £500 a day? And then if you can do that, then that's the for me. That's the easy formula that's worked for me. I add my rent for the week and my business rates for the week. So you add the two of them together. If that equals £700, can you make a week? Can you make that a day? Simple formula. It's very simple.
Sense,
Whatever your business rates and rent is a week, can you make that a day? Simple. So if it's £700 a week, you got to make £3,500 in that week on sales. So obviously £700 times 7. What's 7 times 7? That's 4. No, sorry.
4,900.
Look at me, fake businessman. Sorry, 4,900. Might be no. Sorry, it's the
It's a fizz.
Bro, I'm killing it on maths there.
Yeah, you are.
But that's basically all it is. Whatever your rent and rates are a week, can you make that a day? And then from that point, then you now need to find your solicitors because then you need to do the conveyancing. So their solicitor will deal with the landlord solicitor. They'll then go back and forward. They'll have the heads of terms. So I was meant to get a place in Fulham, but they then went back on the heads of terms. Heads of terms meaning that before we start this deal, these are the heads of terms. These are the things we've agreed, like the smaller details. Everything else is now jargon. But this is the main thing. This is how much it's going to be a week. This is what you're going to pay, your rent-free period. So last minute now, they tried to take off the rent-free period. So when doing a commercial building, you're going to spend months fixing. So they're meant to give you a rent-free period.
You're not making money.
Exactly. So they agreed for 4 months rent-free. Then they pulled it last minute. They said 1 month. I said, my friend, take your place. It's not for me. You know what I mean? Because they went against the heads of terms. And once you've then got the place, then you need to find your you need to find your builders before you get the place, because any good builder is not ready or free straight away. And I say, as a general rule of thumb, any builder that you can ring today that can come today,
It's not good.
generally speaking,
They're not good.
builders are in demand that are good. They should tell you a month, 2 months, 3 months. Anyone that you can ring, yeah, mate, I come down tomorrow, tonight. 2 minutes, man. I'm outside. I'm here, mate. Yeah, so.
And it gives you the plaster.
And then that's what, and then you try and ring him back, it doesn't come back. So that's generally the process. You then get your builders, the builders come in, then you need to start thinking about your architecture, the layout. So for instance, you need to know that, for instance, that wall there, you might determine that you want to have 8 people sitting on the back of that wall. But when you start doing your architecture and put the tables and chairs, you realize that back wall can only take 4 people. Do you know what I mean? The same way that sofa can probably manage 3 at most. You might not know that. So you might buy the sofa without doing the dimensions. Say, yeah, we're going to do this podcast. We'll have 4 people sitting here, 4 sitting down. Until the chair comes, it's like, You know what I mean?
I can see that.
So you got to do all of that stuff to make sure that all the equipment you're buying can fit into the space. Then you need to start doing your recruiting. There's a lot. The whole game it's not easy. I promise you, it's not easy. I would never advise anybody to go into it. It's too much into the sale. Too much.
How much would you need to start a
I say it
restaurant?
depends on the size. So some people will sell a business and have a premium. So a premium is usually on fixtures and furnishings and goodwill. So meaning if there's a restaurant already opening, somebody might want 100 grand. Now they might ask for 100 grand because the business is already running and there's equipment and stuff in there that's worth 100 grand. So you might just buy that and you don't need to do anything. So you might pay 100k and walk straight in and start operating.
You have a restaurant.
Exactly. So the one I'm doing now, the new one, it was derelict. It was been closed for like 2 years. So it was like you couldn't operate like that. So I didn't pay any premium. So I got the place for free. As in, I didn't have to pay a premium. So I had to pay to get the place, but there's no premium. Does that make sense? So then I've now got to do the refurb. So that place is 2,400 square feet. And it's going to probably cost me about... And once again, I've taken loans. So don't think... I don't want anyone to think that... Because sometimes people think, what is this guy doing that I'm not doing? How does he have this money? I've taken loans.
And just have good credit.
Yep, and I've documented it on my Instagram that you can see... I've shown the loans coming out of my bank. Like it's not... I'm not just some rich guy. I don't have money. It's just loans. I use loans to open businesses. So that will cost me probably upstairs and downstairs. You're looking at about 160 grand. Yeah. But then...
For refurb.
Yeah, for the refurb, yeah. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap. I remember that's including the kitchen equipment. So I'm talking kitchen equipment, fridges, the bar counter, decorating. So the whole thing to get it up and running, you're looking at 160 grand.
Yeah, I like. Okay, so that's just the refurb, right? And you're thinking about now again back to the sale. I think one of the most important things with the sale is the customer service. And why? And you obviously already mentioned that you like to see people have a good time while they're in your premises and stuff like that. My thing, my I guess my issue, everyone's issue is always with customer service.